Yeah.
Kate Millefalcher, welcome to Irish Granny Helen. Welcome back, Debbra Lupien, voice of the AKASHIC Records. Thanks, Debbra, for doing this.
You're welcome.
And why don't you tell us about your background? Not your background, the background behind you.
Yeah. Well, this is, of course, Natalie. And the image represents the ethereal spirit of Natalie, who will be here tonight conversing with us. And we have all of the magic of Hollywood that's kind of merging with her spirit to present the full package to us.
You're so creative. I can't do that. It's all I can do to dust over here. That's about the limit of my abilities. Just to warn everybody, this is a sensitive thing that we're doing tonight because there are people involved who are still alive. And essentially, this has never been resolved. So we're going to be tiptoeing around things and hoping that we don't step on our own toes. Okay, so I just made a video about her life, and I'm not going to repeat all the information, all the details, so if you want to get caught up, you can watch that. But essentially, her parents were Russian, Ukrainian immigrant families that ended up in Canada and then ended up in the United States. And when she was 4, she was discovered playing in the yard. They lived in Santa Rosa, and there was a film crew doing a location shoot, and they saw this little girl, and she really was beautiful, and turned out she had talent. But the story is her mother was the original manager, mother monster type person. Years later, her sister Lana said that her mother was a pathological liar. Her mother, the stories go, that her mother orchestrated her career, was enormously ambitious for her, because this wasn't something a 4-year-old was even cognizant of. And that her mother really pushed. And for example, if there was a scene and Natalie had to cry, her mother would very sadistically tell her stories about animal mistreatment right there in front of everybody to make her cry. She once pulled the wings off a butterfly right in front of her to get her to cry. Her mother was not okay. Yeah. So my question for Natalie is if she would describe her mother and father. They had a very troubled relationship, and that's been documented. Her father was an alcoholic, but her mother was not okay and would intentionally provoke her father. So can she describe what was going on in her house?
Hey, so Natalie, could you tell us about your parents, their relationship, and what it was like in your home? Daddy was a tyrant, and Mother rebelled by acting out in ways that she could get away with without his retaliation against her. And sometimes I caught the brunt of it. It was really chaotic. It was confusing. It made me cry a lot. I wondered why they hated me so much. Why did they have me if they didn't want me? It was confusing. And I loved them. I think they loved me, but it was really twisted. And I was always afraid. I didn't want to disappoint them. I tried extra hard to be the perfect little daughter to make them happy. But now I can see that nothing I did would have changed anything. So that's what it was like.
Looking back now, with what she knows now, would she say that her mother was mentally unwell?
So, Natalie, would you characterize your mother as mentally ill? Oh, for sure. I don't think in her heart she was a bad person. I think she just had something twisted in her brain, and I don't blame her for it. She really did love me, even though it was hard for her to show.
So what we know is that she was a really good student, very, very, very smart, very good at mathematics, always doing her very best. You get the impression people pleasing. And she starred in more than 20 films as a child before she was even a teenager. And one of them, I think she was 9. Maybe she can clarify it, because I've read 2 different variations of the story. One, she was 9, and in another, the story was she was 11. But in that general range, she was making a movie called The Green Promise. And she was supposed to run across a bridge that was going to collapse, and it collapsed before she got across, and she fell into this really turbulent water and broke her wrist and almost drowned. And it created this terrible phobia of what? How ironic is that? So
Yeah.
Can she describe that accident?
Can you describe the accident where you fell into the water and almost drowned? It was terrifying. I really thought I was going to die. And it's just by a miracle that I didn't. It was very painful. It made it difficult for me to go back to acting because it was so traumatic. And I persuaded myself that it was all a bad dream. It didn't really happen. And then I was able to go back and do my job, because by then my family was relying on the income that I was bringing in. And I felt very important that I was helping the family in that way. So I had to do whatever I could to continue in the work. And so that's how I resolved it.
How old was she when that happened?
Natalie, how old were you when you had that accident? She's saying 9.
Okay. Yeah, glad I cleared that up. Let's see. Okay, so she gets to this period of her life where she's a young teenager. And so she's not a child anymore, but she's not fully developed enough to be in adult roles. And it was a really difficult period of time in her career. Can she talk a little bit about that?
Can you talk about that time when you were in the in-between stages? You weren't a child anymore, but you weren't quite a woman? It was hard because, puberty is hard for everybody, but it was even more challenging because while the studios liked my work, they didn't quite know what to do with me. So I had to work extra hard to make everybody happy and fit in wherever they tried to put me in the best way that I could. So it was a big challenge for somebody so young, but I think I managed it pretty well.
Well, yeah. When she was 10, I almost skipped this little story. When she was 10, she saw an 18-year-old Robert Wagner passing in the hall and told her mother she was going to marry him someday. Does she remember that? Could she talk about that?
So do you remember when you saw Robert Wagner and said you were going to marry him? Oh, yeah, he was such a dreamboat. I saw him and I was instantly smitten, and I just knew that's the kind of man I wanted to marry.
Was
Mother
it a
was,
specific?
of course.
Oh,
What's that?
sorry. I was going to ask, was it a specific soul recognition or just he was hot?
Oh, great question. So was it because he was hot, or was it because you had a past life connection to him? Well, now she sees they did have a past life connection, but at the time she was not aware of that. He was just hot.
Sorry, I interrupted you. What was her
That's
mother's
okay.
reaction?
Well, her mother was very skeptical and poo-pooed it, and that's never going to happen kind of thing.
Yeah, I could see why. Okay, so she graduated from Van Nuys High School, and I'm so curious, what was it like to be in a regular high school after never having gone to grade school and being on the screen and being famous? How did the kids treat her? Was it easy to be a friend and blend in? And
So tell us about your high school experience. What was that like after having been on the screen and then coming in and trying to be a normal kid in high school? Well, at first it was hard because the kids didn't really know how to react to me. Some of them were starstruck, others were disdainful of me because they wanted to assign qualities to me that weren't really there, that I was this stuck up Hollywood star. And so they avoided me. There was a lot of gossip about me, but I just kept my wits about me. I did my schoolwork, and eventually they got to see that I wasn't all that different from them. And then some of them made friends with me because they wanted me to gossip with them about Hollywood. So slowly I made friends and it all worked out.
was she a good student in high school?
Would you say you were a good student in high school? Yeah, I worked really hard. My mother had just beat it into my head how important it was for me to excel, not just to be a good student, but to be an exceptional student. And that was always a part of the backdrop of my life because we're immigrants, because of where we started and who we were. We had to come here and be exceptional. We couldn't just be good enough. We had to be better.
What was your favorite class?
So, what was your favorite class? She liked art a lot.
Oh,
She was very creative and she found it expansive and fulfilling.
when she looks back now at the role she played in West Side Story, what are her thoughts about that?
So, when you reflect upon being Maria in West Side Story, how do you see that now? What are your perceptions? Well, it was a great opportunity for me. I wasn't happy that they dubbed my voice, but in retrospect, I didn't have a powerful enough voice to carry that role, so it was a good choice. But at the time, I was really resentful about that. It was a fun movie to shoot because it was different from the roles I had had previously. There was more depth to it, and I really enjoyed it, and it was a fabulous cast. It was just an
Yeah.
all-around great experience.
Did she speak Russian at home with her family?
So, did you speak Russian or Ukrainian at home with your family? We did when I was younger, but then by the time I went to school, we had shifted into speaking English because Mama thought it was better for me to practice my English. And I helped them with their English, so it all worked out.
Well, she was in The Great Race, and one of the reasons they cast her was she was able to speak Russian, so she must have remembered her Russian. Or did she have to study?
So, when you were in The Great Race, did you remember the Russian for that role or did you have to study it? I remembered a little bit, but I really had to study it because by that time I had moved past it and it was a vague memory.
She was in a couple of movies that well, she had a lot of Golden Globe, Academy Award nominations. Excuse me, but she got 2 nominations for 2 movies back to back. She didn't win, but these are movies she made with Robert Redford. Does she know that he just died?
So, Natalie, are you aware that Robert Redford just died? Oh, sure. Bobby and I had a great reunion when he got here.
He's okay. I
Yeah,
imagine so.
that was Daisy Clover, right, with Robert
Mhm.
Redford?
Mhm.
I loved that movie.
I don't think I've ever seen it. Inside Daisy
Oh, it's
Clover
great.
and This Property is Condemned. She was also, she did a cameo in The Candidate, but she played herself. Wasn't he in The Candidate? He was the candidate, right?
I don't remember. I think so, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Not 100%, but pretty sure. So for a while, she dated Warren Beatty from, you know, he was in Splendor in the Grass, right?
Mhm.
I hesitate to ask what that was like. I can only imagine.
So, Natalie, can you tell us about what it was like dating Warren Beatty? Well, there were three of us in the relationship. There was Warren and I and Warren's ego.
I knew you. I could have predicted that. Okay, let's see here. Oh, you know, hats off to her. I gotta say, she got elected the worst actress, past, present, and future in 1966 by the Harvard Lampoon. And she went to the banquet and accepted the award. And they were so blown away about how gracious and how nice she was. And I just wanted to tell her, good for you. That's the way it's done. Class act. Yeah. Well, I'm sure she remembers that. What was that like? That must have been hard.
Yeah. So, Natalie, what was it like getting that Harvard Lampoon award and then showing up to accept it in person? Oh, she knew they were making fun of her and she was going to throw it right back in their face. She had that little defiant streak in her, and that's part of what got her through the rough times in her life. She stood up and she wasn't going to let them push her around. It was very satisfying.
It worked because they were really impressed by her. She married Richard Gregson. What can we know about him? I don't really know anything about him.
So what can you tell us about Richard Gregson? He was a charmer. He swept me off my feet. Beautiful man. And we made some beautiful babies.
That's true.
Yeah, it was a good relationship for a while, but he wasn't cut out to be married to a Hollywood wife. That put a lot of strain on the relationship. And it was hard with the children as well. Yeah.
Did having the children interfere with her career much?
So did having children interfere with your career? Well, she had to be very creative to work around it, but it didn't interfere as much as it did for some people. She was able to disguise the pregnancy for quite some time, so she was able to work.
I kind of skipped over something slightly important. She got married to Robert Wagner in 1957. She did marry him eventually. And then they broke up, and then she married Gregson, but then she got together again with Robert Wagner. Maybe she could sort of summarize that off again, on again relationship.
Yeah, so could you tell us about the thing with Robert Wagner? You had that early marriage, then you broke up and got together later. We were just star-crossed lovers. We were meant to be together, but it was really difficult because we were both up and coming in our field. There was a lot of pressure, and he always had an eye for the ladies. And quite frankly, at the time, I was too young to commit myself, and there were a lot of temptations out there, so we both gave in to temptations. It was just too soon.
Her sister says in the biography she wrote that the reason she divorced Robert Wagner the first time is that she caught him with a guy. Is that true?
Oh. So is it true that you caught Robert Wagner with a man, and that's why you divorced him? She's saying no.
Not true. Well, we'll clear that up. Yeah. You know, there's a lot of rumors. It's so easy to fall prey to that, and we have no way of knowing.
Yeah.
At this point, I mean, who are we? We have no way of knowing. So I'm glad to not perpetuate the lie. She had a short romance with Jerry Brown. I have a question for her. Would she say Jerry Brown has a type? Because I think she reminds me very much of Linda Ronstadt.
Mhm. Yeah, so would you say that Jerry Brown has a type? Yeah, but lots of men do. They have preferences, and you can clearly see if you look at the relationships that he definitely does. And wasn't he also married to Guilfoyle?
No, you're thinking of Gavin Newsom,
Oh, okay.
which is horrifying. It's just horrifying to think about. Jerry Brown, he was like the perennial bachelor. And he had a long-term relationship with Linda Ronstadt. I can remember a time. Linda Ronstadt is my all-time favorite female modern singer. What is she classified? You can't classify her. It's one of the reasons why I like her. She's done light opera and pop and what is that Mexican music? I can't remember the name of it, that it's the mariachi and they, because she is half Mexican and she's done that sort of crooner type music, Frank Sinatra-ish style. I don't know what to call it. It's just her range was just absolutely unbelievable, and her voice was so unique. So I was really rooting for them. I was hoping they'd get married. That would be a hilarious wedding. Alas, it didn't happen. Did he ever get married? I don't remember.
I don't know.
For a while, I think he was like, pardon?
With her career, I don't see how that would have worked.
Well, both of them, frankly. I mean, they're both, it's a 24/7 thing for both of them. I want to say that he, for a while, was involved in some sort of spiritual pursuit. I don't know if he was a Catholic seminarian or a Buddhist, or he was very seriously into the spiritual realm for a while. It was interesting. He's kind of the philosopher of the political world. Really interesting. But that's neither here nor there. I was just really struck. I didn't know that Natalie Wood had dated him. Does she know what his spiritual thing was? Was he a priest or a brother? Or
so, Natalie, can you tell us what was the spiritual organization that Jerry Brown got involved with? She says it was Jesuits.
Well, I know he was taught by the Jesuits, but I had some vague notion that he actually maybe went to a seminary, maybe took vows. Am I imagining that?
So do you know, did he take vows with a seminary? No.
Oh, okay.
And she's also saying he's the type of man, if he did take vows, he wouldn't have abandoned them. He takes that stuff very seriously.
Right. I was always under the impression that he would have gone that direction, but realized that he couldn't make that commitment. So he didn't. Yeah. There's a rumor. Let's get things out in the open here. There's a rumor, a story told by an FBI agent, Donald Wilson, that she and he had an affair from 1973 to 1977. Is that true, or was he making that up?
Okay, so Natalie, did you have an affair with this FBI guy, Wilson, for 3 years? Is that true? Yes, they had an affair. Was it 3 years? It was kind of on and off. It wasn't a steady 3 years, but yeah, it was a 3-year period.
Okay. So this is touchy, and it's only touchy because extended family is still alive. So this is alleged. Okay. When she was 16, she went to an audition at the Chateau Marmont it's where, what's his name died, from Saturday Night Live. John. Oh my God, it's on the tip of my
John
tongue.
Belushi?
Yes, thank you, John
Okay.
Belushi. Okay, so it's always been a Hollywood place because I guess they have little bungalows and there's a degree of privacy, So she went for this audition alone and this is the alleged story. Now, this comes from her sister who wrote her biography for her after she died. And her sister Lana says that this is the story that Natalie told her. And it's the same thing that she told friends and close acquaintances. She never made a police report. She never went to the hospital because she was only 16 and she was so traumatized. She was badly injured. And I don't know what that means, but it doesn't sound good. She was held by this famous person for like half a day or more. Couldn't get held prisoner, basically, and non-consensually mistreated, if you get my meaning.
Yeah.
First, I want to ask, is that true? Did that really happen? And is it the person that her sister said it was?
Okay. So is the story that you were held against your will and physically assaulted for half a day? Is that true? Yes. It was horrific. And the person that was named in your sister's book, is that the person? Yes. She got that right on.
Okay, so I'll say the name and maybe we can talk to this person because he has died. Allegedly, it was Kirk Douglas, which, I mean, doesn't that seem, I don't know, I would never have, I don't know anything about him, but that wouldn't have been the first person that came to mind,
No, me either. But I have heard he was known for doing things like that.
Really?
He had a dark side.
Did she ever get any help?
So did you ever get any help for what happened to you? So she did talk to a therapist. At that point, she had enough control in her life that she could get help because she had to put it into some kind of a context so that she could then continue working and staying sane. And I'm just going to ask her, was it indeed Kirk Douglas? Is that true? Yeah. Yeah. You wouldn't know it to look at him, but he was a monster.
No. And here's the question, and I don't mean this to be intrusive, but what it does is it provides a certain character for him. So when she said that she was very badly injured, were there fists involved? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, yes. So the incident, did he physically assault you? Did he punch you? Well, it wasn't like a boxer would, but yes, there was physical violence.
That's how she was injured, is what I'm getting at, because that puts him on yet another level. I mean, violence is violence, but there's nuance to it. We know more about what was going on with him by what he did.
But I think there was the other assault as well. Was that in the book?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but I was wondering if that was what badly injured her, or was there more? And there was more.
Yeah. It was both.
Boy. Okay. One more question before we get to the day that she died. One more question about her life in general. She was the youngest to win was a Golden Globe 3 times or be nominated 3 times. She got Oscars nominations, Golden Globe nominations. She won awards. She was really acclaimed in Hollywood. And I'm of the wrong generation. Our ages are just weirdly different. That she wasn't high on my radar. I knew who she was. I knew the work she'd done, but the movies that she made were slightly too old for me when they came out. And then by the time I would have been old enough, they were a little bit dated. Do you know what I mean? They weren't old enough to have that allure of old Hollywood. They were it was just bad timing, right? For me. I'm just wondering why she got so much personal acclaim from director like Joseph Mankiewicz, Sidney Pollack. I mean, all these people, big, well-respected names in Hollywood, thought she was a perfect actress, wonderful. They loved her work. They liked her. They had nothing but good things to say about her. And sometimes her movies hit with the public, but a lot of times she got kind of negative critique from the public. And I don't understand that. Can she explain that?
So can you help us understand? You got acclaim for some of your roles, but then others the public just did not appreciate. Can you help us understand that? Well, it's because they had a certain view of who I was, typecast, you would say. And when I played against that in a different kind of role, they did not react well to it because I was on this pedestal for some of them. And when I took a role that was outside of those boundaries of where they had put me, it rubbed them the wrong way, like sandpaper. They just did not like it. It caused them sort of a cognitive dissonance because they thought I was one person, but now I was being another, and they couldn't reconcile the two.
Yeah, I understand that completely. And I think it was especially bad typecasting during that time period.
Yeah.
Does she have a favorite movie that she made?
So, do you have a favorite movie? Gypsy. She really loved Gypsy.
That's a great movie.
It allowed her so much latitude and expression, and also breaking out of the good little girl, the perfect woman. So it was so much fun. She loved it.
Was that Rosalind Russell?
Yeah.
And June Haver played, she actually was the real Gypsy's sister. Didn't she play her sister in the role? Does she know?
You're asking if June Haver played Gypsy's sister?
Yeah. I think she might have. Can she? Yeah. Can she?
Okay. So can you tell us, did June Haver, she was the sister of the real Gypsy, and did she play that role in the movie? Yeah. The producers just really liked that connection. It was like an inside joke.
I just love that stuff. It's just astounding. Love that musical. Oh, and tell her, my parrot loves that movie. My parrot loves it. The music from it.
Oh,
okay.
Interesting.
Yeah. I have a parrot with a lot of good taste that she loves Broadway musicals and opera. Perfect. Okay. Let's talk about the day she died. And rather than ask 8 million questions, can she just tell us what happened?
So, Natalie, can you tell us about the day you died? She was restless and irritable. It made her nervous being on the boat because she was afraid of the water. So there was a lot of friction that day. And the guys were not being very understanding. They were being callous to her, and she did not appreciate that. In addition to not feeling well, it kind of roiled up inside of her. But she's saying she did not go out in that boat of her own volition. So help us understand what happened. She was drinking more than she should have, so she was drunk. Let's just be honest. She was drunk.
They all
And
were.
yeah, and because she was also irritable on top of being drunk, she got on their nerves. They were trying to talk. They had some project they were discussing, and she was getting in the way. So it's like there was an accident. Maybe they like went to push her away, but she fell and hit her head, and they thought she was dead. So they put her in the boat. The two of them, not just one.
Really? Did she tell her sister this? Because her sister wrote a different story about it.
Well, how could she have told her sister when she was dead? Did they have a medium connect?
Oh, no, I guess you're right. How could you? Well, her sister told a different story. You're right.
But she wouldn't have.
I'm blurring the lines between the living and the dead. You have me utterly confused now. No, her sister wrote her biography, and according to her sister, maybe, my mistake. Maybe it wasn't her sister. Maybe it was the captain, because he was the other person on the boat when all this happened.
Yeah.
And there was a shove, and she went over.
So how did she get in the boat?
I think it was attached to the side of the boat in the water. It was the dinghy, and it was attached. And I think she never really got into it. She clung to it and ended up, I don't know how it got untied, but it floated off, and she died of hypothermia because she was in the water and she could not climb into the dinghy. It's really hard, imagine trying to get out of a pool at the deep end and you have nothing to gain purchase, and she had a jacket on and it became waterlogged. Is that true? I'm not making this up, but that's kind of the impression that I got. And it wasn't her sister. You're right. Her sister doesn't have ESP. It was the captain. Yeah.
Okay. So clarify for us, Natalie. Did the men put you in the dinghy, or did they just push you off into the water? It's like I can see her. She went off and her body hit the side of the dinghy, so it kind of tilted it. But she wasn't conscious to hold on to the side. She had already hit her head. She was unconscious.
But she was yelling for help because witnesses heard her yelling for help for hours, and then eventually weakened. And yeah, there's evidence that she was hanging on for a really long time. She was in the water. Yeah.
She was showing me that she just went in. I guess that's the story she prefers to believe because it's less trauma. So, Natalie, can you clarify that for us? Is it true that you were calling for help for hours? She says she doesn't remember. In her mind, it was over and done with quickly. So she just doesn't want to think about it.
Well, she did have a cut on her face when they found her body. So this has been going on for decades. There was the original story. We went to bed. When we woke up, she was gone.
Yeah.
Then the story evolved a little bit. Well, we'd all been drinking and we had an argument. And when we woke up, she was gone. And later, the captain admitted, he went to the police and said, I lied. Let me tell you the real story. And they reopened the case because it never was resolved. I mean, it just became a cold case. The coroner closed it. It wasn't even considered a murder. The coroner, Thomas Noguchi, signed off death by drowning and hypothermia. And the captain went to the police and said, okay, I lied. Here's what really happened. Now, I'm repeating his story. I'm not alleging that this is true or not true. This is on the public record. So I'm just saying what the public record is. She was flirting with Christopher Walken. She was drunk. and she was flirting with Christopher Walken, and Robert Wagner got jealous, and they got into it, you know, in each other's faces. And he pushed her away because she was being annoying, and she went over the side. And the story is she struggled to get into that dinghy for hours. Somehow or other, it wasn't attached anymore. I don't know how that happened. As she struggled to get into it for hours, people heard her calling for help. They didn't realize that's what they were hearing, you know, but they heard, and then the captain kept saying, let's put the lights on and let's find her. Let's get her out of there. And her spouse said, nah, you know, teach her a lesson. And he was very, very drunk. Teach her a lesson.
Yeah. So did the captain say he heard her yelling for help?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How could he leave her out there?
We can ask. I don't know. But eventually her cries for help ended, and they found her with the dinghy loose. They found her near it, both floating free, about a mile away from the boat. And she had bruises all over her and cuts and a laceration on her face. Eventually, they redid the autopsy report. Now we're talking like 2013. They redid it. And Noguchi's assistant, who was an intern at the time, was involved in the rewrite and said she had bruises all over her that were not consistent with trying to get into the dinghy. It looked like she had those bruises, fresh bruises, when she went into the water. And that's in the updated autopsy report that's public. This is all public, and we're not alleging anything, but this is just what we know factually from the coroner's report from the LA coroner. And in 2017, he was named a person of interest.
That I remember.
And I don't know what's happened since. There's no more information about what's happened since. So she may have hit her head when she went over. Not every blow to the head makes you go unconscious, but it can affect your memory. So it's like having a blackout. You know, you're awake,
yeah,
but you won't have a memory of it later, which may be merciful, and it can be a psychological thing too. You know, fear, because that was her phobia. Who knows? And she had very high alcohol level too. And she had taken a seasickness pill and a pain pill. So she wasn't compos mentis totally, right?
Yeah.
Does she think, now that she's had, you know, the opportunity to reflect, looking from a different perspective, was there some sort of, I mean, she always had this fear of water, and she almost drowned once before. And I just wonder, what was the karmic thing around that? Was this some past life karmic debt, or what was that?
So, Natalie, can you tell us, was there something past life about drowning and that contributed to your phobia? Yeah, there was a past life where she had drowned, but that wouldn't have been a factor, except it was triggered by that early drowning experience. So once it was triggered and the phobia was there, she focused on the thought of drowning, which kind of made it a self-fulfilling prophecy because there was a lot of energy put behind it. And she's clarifying that, you know, they pushed her, she hit her head, and she was temporarily knocked out. But when they threw her into the water, the cold brought her to consciousness. So then she grabbed the dinghy and probably did get a great deal of bruising as she was, you know, dealing with that as long as she was able to. So that's just
So is she saying that those bruises were not inflicted before she got in the water?
Well, let's ask directly. So, Natalie, the bruises that were on your body, did you get those before you went in the water? She might have gotten some because she was being a pest and they were, shoving her away. And it looks like she fell before she actually fell and hit her head because she wouldn't let them be. She just kept going at them. It was a very aggravated situation. And I don't understand the captain, but the men, for their part, they thought she was dead. That's why they tossed her in. And then later she starts screaming and they're like, oh crap, what do we do now? We can't go get her because she'll say we tried to kill her.
Was there a physical altercation before she got in the water? Not just get out of my way, but like a physical altercation.
So would you say there was a physical altercation before you got in the water? Not like they were punching me out or anything, but just pushing me. And because I was so drunk, I fell. And I fell into a chair and I fell into the wall and stumbling around. So that and struggling to live in the water.
What are her feelings? I mean, I don't know if feelings is the right word, but what are her feelings now towards Robert Wagner?
So what do you feel about Wagner now that you're on the other side? She said, honestly, I don't hold it against him. It was a bad night for all of us. It was just a really freaky circumstance that led to my demise. And I'll own my part in it. I instigated it. And yeah, it was wrong of them to do. But it was just one of those freaky occurrences. And I know that they both regret it now.
Why would she go on a boat? She got married on a boat. And then here she is again. She had such a fear of water. Why would she go on a boat?
Well, she says, you have to remember, I was somebody who overcame a lot of things in my life. And the way that I did it, my technique, was to face the fear, to face it down, to do the thing I was afraid to do. In my mind, that was the way to conquer the fear.
See, this is an object lesson for me. You will never see me attempt to parachute out of an airplane. I'm not facing any fear. No, thank you. Okay, well, I don't know. I can't think of any other questions. Can you? For her?
Yeah. Nothing comes to mind. And she's solved the mystery, explained how it happened, and that's helpful. And, I'm glad for her sake that she's not holding them responsible. She's going to move past it, move on. It's done. And she will come back again. She'll have a better life. She learned a lot in this last one.
Who does she think is the greatest actress right now?
So who would you say is the greatest actress in present day? That's really hard because honestly, you don't have the caliber of actresses that you once did. Meryl Streep, of course, is a standout, but thinking of the younger generation,
I don't really.
Kate Blanchett, of course, stands out. She's extraordinary.
I was thinking of. That's who I was hoping she would say. My favorite actress.
And of course, her daughter.
I knew she was an actress, but I don't know what she's done because like I just said, I don't really pay much attention to the really younger ones.
I don't think she's done much, but it's her daughter. So, of course, she thinks she's a great actress.
Of course. And that goes without saying. It's a rhetorical question.
Yeah.
Well, just say thank you. And it's really a tragic loss. We all miss her. It's sad.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you know that, Natalie, how much you are missed and thought about? So many people are captivated by your story. Yeah, she's smiling. She appreciates that. It means a lot to her that she is remembered with such reverence and regard. And she
Of
said,
course.
what more can you ask for a life? So in that way, it was a very successful life.
Yeah. She was utterly beautiful. Okay, well, thank you. I guess now we should really should we ask the captain? What the hell?
Sure. Do you know his
Okay.
name?
Oh. You know, I didn't write it down. I remember I read it and I thought, oh, we don't need to, muddy the water, so to speak, with more names. So I didn't write it down. But the captain of the Splendor.
Okay, let's try that. So, Angels, can you help us connect with the captain of the Splendor, the boat that Natalie drowned from? Okay, let's try. What do you want to know?
What's his version of what happened?
So, for the captain of the Splendor, can you tell us what happened that night? It was a really rough night for him because they were all drunk on their asses, and these are famous rich people. He didn't want to offend them. So he found himself trying to juggle managing the situation without crossing the line, and it was just an impossible situation. He wasn't present when Natalie went over. He did not see it, so he was relying on what the men told him.
Well, now, wait a minute. Because when he went back to the police, he had a whole other story. And he said he saw Robert Wagner push her.
Okay, let's ask him about that. So you told the police you saw Wagner push her. So what's the real story here? It's over and done with. You can't change it, but the truth coming out now would be very beneficial. So we would appreciate it if you'd be honest with us. He's saying he did not. He made that up because he felt there was pressure to close this case, and everybody was thinking that Wagner did it. So that would just conveniently fit the narrative, but he didn't actually see it. If he had seen it, he might have reacted differently at the time. So he was going on what they told him. And then later he resented that because there was always a lot of pressure. Feels like it really ruined his career, left a bitterness with him. And they paid him off to keep his mouth shut. So when he came forward later, it was kind of getting back at them, trying to take control of his life. So, okay, if you lied to the police, how do you feel about that now? Do you feel that was the right choice? No. No,
He
he's
lied to
sorry
them twice.
he did it. He's sorry that he did it. It was a mistake because lying is never the right choice. But he just didn't know what to do. He was caught up in something that was just totally out of his depth. He didn't know what to do. And he made a lot of mistakes that he deeply regrets. And he is apologizing to Natalie as well.
Yeah. I'm confused, though. His first narrative was untrue. But when he went back the second time, which he didn't need to do, it was, pretty much case closed. It was written off as an accident. When he went back and pointed the finger at Wagner, why did he do that if Wagner paid him off?
Because he was resentful that his life was ruined as a result of it. They were rich. They could get away with it and move on. Sure, it left a shadow over them, but not the way it did him. And after some period of years, the money's gone. He's bitter, and he decides this is the way that he can pay them back. He felt that they should pay, that something should be done. And so that's the story he persuaded himself was true, and he told that to the police.
So maybe he can clear this up. He didn't hear her crying for help for a long time.
Well, he did hear her cry for help, but he didn't see them push her.
So she did wake up then. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, one more person that we need to ask a question of. Can you guess who? Kirk Douglas.
Oh, I thought you were going to go with the other male who was on the boat.
Oh, no. No. Do you think we should? I mean,
well, again, it's a living person, so it's
yeah. I want to know what's the story with Kirk Douglas. The situation with Natalie Wood. What was he thinking? I mean, how does he justify that? And then he has this image of this great family man married for a really, really, really long time, always held up as the paragon of the long-term Hollywood marriage. What was going on behind closed doors with him? I guess I just asked, what kind of a monster was he?
He was a monster. So, Kirk Douglas, can you speak with us about the incident with Natalie Wood? He'd rather not, but he's going to. Because he's in a different place now and it's the right thing to do. So he will talk about it. So what possessed you to attack her in such a brutal fashion, to attack her at all? So he'd been drinking. Alcohol was involved.
I knew that was going to be the excuse.
He'd had a bad day. And he was at a place in his career where he was really feeling powerful. And the two of them, when they talked, they weren't on the same page. She was resisting his ideas, and that offended his ego because, she should go along with whatever he says because he's a god. And it just annoyed him. He was drunk, and so he lashed out at her. And she was a hot piece, and it was hard to resist. So, he just let his manly instincts take over. Wasn't the first time. He had abused his position because, let's face it, that was done in Hollywood all the time, and rarely were there any consequences. So he was feeling that energy of being able to do whatever he wanted without consequence. So he just acted out. And yeah, maybe he regretted it a little bit afterwards, but not much, because it's just who he became. He allowed the power to consume him and didn't worry too much about the consequences because of who he was. There weren't consequences. He went on and he had a spectacular career.
What about after he died? Are there consequences now?
So what about after you crossed over? Have you had the consequences of those poor choices when you were alive? Yeah, that's part of the deal here. No way of escaping it. You have to go through all of that. You've got to experience it the way the victims experienced it so that you can understand the true effect of your actions. And hopefully you'll go on and do better. So there was a lot that I had to re-experience from the perspective of the other person. And it took a long time to go through all of that. It was painful. Honestly, I'm aghast at some of the things that I did. But at the time, I was just following my instincts, feeling my oats, and pretty much damn well doing whatever I wanted to do. And there weren't consequences, so who was going to stop me? But there is a lot of regret now, and there is a lot of karma to be cleared up. So you can bet on that. That karma will be repaid.
I don't have any other questions.
I
Can you
wonder,
think of any?
do you
Pardon?
think his wife knew? I'm wondering if his wife was aware of the monster side. You know, it was like a Jekyll and Hyde.
You can ask. I'm just disgusted.
Yeah.
Listening to somebody justify that because, well, it's just what was done and I had the power.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's true. That's how he saw it at the time. So, do you think your wife knew about the dark side of you? She did. She had a sense of it, although she didn't know the full extent. But she justified it and turned a blind eye because she had a really good life and we had a good relationship. She didn't want to rock the boat. You know, that must be a lot like Bill Cosby's wife because she had to have known.
Of course she knows. Of course she does. Just, it's incomprehensible. You know,
And
judge
yet it
not lest you be judged. Pardon?
Yeah. And yet it happens somehow, for whatever reason, they find ways of compartmentalizing, justifying, denying, so they can continue their happy little fantasy.
This is an example of, it's one small example of why patriarchal institutions cling to their power. They don't have to justify what they do. They don't have repercussions. There's no accountability. Why would they want that to change? And this seems significant because of who he is or who he was. This happens all the time. I don't think men fully appreciate the amount of this that goes on and the percentage of women who experience the continuum of this sort of behavior. I'm trying to be careful about the words I use, but you know, I think of the people willing to report honestly about it, 75% of women have gone through this sort of thing. But that's just the ones who are willing to talk about it. Yeah. Who knows? I think it's closer to 99%. I really do. You know, I mean, you talk to your friends, you know, and there's a continuum. You know, there's the extreme of what he did on one end, and then there's just the social stuff that may be a little bit vague on the other end, and there's all of the increasing offenses that go, you know, from one end to the other. And I don't know a single woman who hasn't experienced something painful along the way.
Yeah,
Don't
it's
get me
almost a
started.
rite of passage.
Yeah. Yeah, well, karma. You know what they say karma is? And that is a feminine term. All right, I can't think of any other questions. Can you?
No, just, you know, thank you, Natalie, because I have long wanted to talk to her. So thanks for bringing her up.
Did I leave anything out that you wanted to know?
I think you covered everything. She was just this amazing shooting star that we only got for a short time. She was
Such a beautiful child. I have to admit, I hate that movie, Miracle on 34th Street. It's one of the most popular Christmas movies, along with that one with Jimmy Stewart. What's it called?
It's a Wonderful Life.
A Wonderful Life.
Yeah.
Can't stand either one of them. I don't know what I think they're too saccharine or something. I don't know. I'd much rather watch The Christmas Story with the dogs stealing the turkey off the table. A little reality, please. I still think my favorite is Christmas in Connecticut. Barbara Stanwyck was so good. And I only recently discovered that movie. I can't wait for Christmas so I can watch it again. I don't want to watch it too soon, and kind of take the varnish off the rose, sort of. Well, I think we've solved another case successfully. Deborah, what do you think?
Yeah.
Sad. Yeah.
So hopefully for all the Natalie fans, they will find some kind of closure hearing from her.
It's always reassuring to me that egregious, traumatic, as horrible as most of these stories are, it really is always a happy ending because they've long since moved past it. We're all wallowing around in it, and they're like, that was a blip on the radar for them. So that's reassuring. Yeah. Okay. Well, I have to figure out who we're going to investigate next.
Thank you for doing
that. Oh, there's no shortage at all. So thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it. And thanks everybody for watching. I know a lot of people I get feedback from really enjoy what you do, Deborah. Really appreciate it. So you need to know that. Thank you.
They enjoy what we do. We're a team.
Oh, well, I just come up with I'm just nosy. I come up with the questions.
You're the great researcher.
It comes naturally, the nosiness. All right. Thank you, everybody. And Slán go fóill. Slánte.
Bye.